The ACLU is suing the Trump administration. We've been talking about this for a while on Indisputable. Where's the ACLU? Here they are. Let's go to it. Here it is.
Shame on you.
Listen, have y'all not learned from the past couple of days? Have you not learned?
Learned what? What's our lesson here? What do you want us to learn?
Following federal agents.
Give me my phone back. You
Federal
can't take
agents.
my phone.
This is your warning. This is your warning.
For what?
Stop following us. You are impeding operations. Stop
Wait,
it.
let people go to
You did
church.
not learn from what just happened? I'm not going to tell you. You got to move. Get out of the way.
I don't pose.
5 ICE officers approached my vehicle, boxed me in with their vehicles, and all 5 of them forcibly removed me from my car, threw me to the ground, which is where I got some of the road rash on my face, and I was detained at the Whipple Detention Center for approximately 10 hours yesterday.
I came across an ICE agent. They were turning onto a major highway, and as they were turning, I had a walk signal on and started crossing the street. And when I wasn't moving as quickly as they would like, both the driver and passenger jumped out of the car, and they pulled weapons on us while they were driving, I might add. Not even pulled over, and fired rubber bullets.
Put it up. The ACLU, in solidarity with the victims, with the families of those victims, and with the majority of people in this country, they are standing in solidarity against an administration who would rather harm American citizens, human beings in general, children, women, etc. The American Civil Liberties Union has now filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration, accusing the federal immigration authorities in Minnesota of racial profiling and unlawful arrest amid widespread immigration and customs enforcement raids. In a 72-page lawsuit filed on Thursday on behalf of 3 community members who are all U.S. citizens, which means they have standing. The ACLU accused federal immigration agents of violating the constitutional rights of citizens, arguing that Somali and Latino communities in the state have been disproportionately targeted, and that is correct. Naming the Department of Homeland Security and its secretary, Christy Nome, as defendants, along with multiple other Customs and Border Protection officers, the lawsuit points to what it describes as a, quote, startling pattern of abuse spearheaded by the Department of Homeland Security that is fundamentally altering civic life in the Twin Cities and the state of Minnesota. Currently, more than 80 House Democrats have co-signed articles of impeachment for Christy Nome that was introduced by Illinois Representative Robin Kelly. Let's be very clear. Trump is attempting to utilize ICE as his own domestic police force, his own personal military. The mask hides the identity of these so-called officers, but it hides something else. It hides media, protesters, everyday people. It hides from the capacity of responsibility, light, exposure, accountability. That's what the mask is about. Imagine if individuals, which we already have one report, but if multiple individuals who raided that Capitol on that day of terrorism are now ICE agents today. And they're hiding behind masks, continuing to perpetrate the ideology of hate. So real victims are dying. Real families are being torn apart. Not just those who are of some immigration status one way or the other, like we said here initially. Immigration has nothing to do with this. Immigration was the proxy. Immigration was the catalyst. Immigration was the way in. Immigration was to get you to look over there and get you to agree to something so egregious that when they did it over here, you can't say a damn word because you co-signed on it. Now, the vast majority of us, we did not. And the vast majority of Trump voters did not co-sign on this. They co-signed on other things that were bigoted and ideologically adverse to what I would believe, and many of you. But I did not hear them campaign with Trump on this. There's more. According to the lawsuit, one of the plaintiffs, 20-year-old, Mubashir Khalif Hassan, was detained by agents who were masked while walking to lunch. This was in Minneapolis, Cedar Riverside neighborhood. This was last December. Despite repeatedly stating the quote, "I am a citizen, I'm a citizen, I'm a citizen." Hassan said agents refused to check his ID, placed him in a headlock and took him to the Whipple Federal Building in South Minneapolis. There, he was shackled. There, fingerprinted. There, denied medical assistance, denied water, and then was released. The lawsuit alleged. Can I back up for a moment? You see, this is a different permeation of something called a rough ride. You see, in local policing, we let cops get away with giving people something called jail time, meaning they knew the individual was not guilty of a crime. They knew the individual did not have charges that would stick, but local PD would put them in a paddy wagon, give them a rough ride, book them anyway to have them released 24 hours later with all charges dismissed or dropped. This is another expression of that. But see, if we would have handled it at the local level, culturally, it may not be present at the federal, is my point. There's more. Quote, "At no time did any officer ask me whether I was a citizen or if I had my immigration status, had any immigration status," he said on Thursday's, at Thursday's press conference in the ACLU, from the ACLU, adding, quote, "They did not ask for any identifying information, nor did they ask about my ties to the community, how long I have lived in the Twin Cities, my family in Minnesota, or anything else about my circumstances." Following his release, he walked by ICE officers and protesters earlier this month and recorded the scene on his phone from a public sidewalk. A car carrying federal agents then drove past him, and as it did, one agent rolled down the window and pepper sprayed directly into his face. The lawsuit says, I want you to understand how sobering this is. If they can do it to him, they can do it theoretically to anyone. And that is why we fight back. It will not be done on our watch. It will not be done without fighting back. And remember, light and darkness has no comparison to light. Evil is not winning. This stuff happens in cycles. But every cycle reigns true. They implode on themselves. I'm talking about the evil because there is no unity in love. There is no honor amongst thieves. These individuals are not sustainable. Whatever change they create is not a sustainable change because it was never done through the unity of actual compassion and love. they will implode. But it is up to us to continue to fight of light, information, wisdom, truth, and resistance. Only resistance builds strength. There's more. Trump concerned about the optics of the whole thing because of his poll ratings. Let's get into it. So Trump is privately concerned or expressing discomfort with the, quote, bad look of his Minneapolis immigration enforcement operation. That's according to a new Axios report. Speaking to them, one top presidential advisor insisted that Trump still wants, quote, mass deportations, end quote, but is feeling uneasy about the optics. Quote, I wouldn't say he's concerned about the policy. He wants deportations. He wants mass deportations. What he doesn't want is what people are seeing, he said. He doesn't like the way it looks. It looks bad. So he's expressed some discomfort at that. There's the right way to do this, and this doesn't look like the right way. It never started as the right way. There is no right way to execute evil. There is no right way to implement such an adverse plan to the everyday person. It lacks humanity, it lacks heart, it lacks compassion. So there is no right way. And Trump is only concerned about his poll ratings with individuals in his camp, primarily. Doesn't give a damn about those who are external of that. And according to his last comment, that includes people who are MAGA who believe he should release the Epstein files. Those people are no longer in his camp, according to him. So Trump's reservation stretched back to before the ICE shooting of the Minnesota woman, Miss Renee Nicole Good, which sparked more demonstrations. When Trump's team reviewed private Republican polling showing erosion in support for his immigration agenda. Erosion in support for his immigration agenda, according to the outlet. The polling reportedly showed a dip among independents and moderates and minority voters, a bloc critical to his 2024 victory and to Republican hopes of holding the House majority in November's midterms. Let me put it together for you. It's not simply popularity. It's also that Donald Trump wants to remain out of prison. He doesn't want to be impeached. If they lose the stronghold they have now, he's now a readily impeachable president based on historical review rather than anything he does in the future. So he doesn't want that. In addition to that, it's very clear. The private Republican poll, there's light in this. I don't want you to miss it. His policy is so egregious that individuals who literally supported the policy are saying that is too harsh. That is not what I signed up for. That is not what I voted for. There's light there, meaning the individuals that we thought were completely heartless may have a little semblance of a heart, because the egregious nature of this execution has created a new voting bloc adverse to Trump and his policy. There's more. The polling completed last year found that 60% of independent voters, 58% of undecided voters believed Trump was, quote, too focused on deporting undocumented immigrants. Those numbers have taken on new urgency as footage from Minneapolis, including these federal officers who are wearing masks, and confrontations with demonstrators circulate on cable news and social media, with Trump voters like Joe Rogan even providing question to the tactics. But despite this, MAGA, they've been working overtime to defend ICE agents. Here it is.
99.9997% success rate. If any other government agency got stuff that right that often, we'd be throwing them a ticker tape parade.
And this administration will continue to stand wholeheartedly by the brave men and women of ICE, including that officer in Minneapolis who was absolutely justified in using self-defense against a lunatic.
I will say, look, I would appreciate everybody saying a prayer for that agent.
Hats off to that ICE agent. I'm glad he made it out alive. I'm glad he's with his family.
And I really have a problem with these people that say that she is, that this is some kind of tragic situation. I don't think there's anything tragic about it at all. I think it's good. Honestly, I think it's good. I think it was good that George Floyd died. I think it's good that she died. She's a complete idiot. She's a typical liberal idiot. Irredeemable, and people could say, well, that's not Christian. Well, that's the reality. 37-year-old lesbian who's out there with her wife blocking ICE in the middle of this thing. That's about as irredeemable as it gets. That's a good day. It's one less idiot in the world.
Dr. King had a strategy. He needed America to see America. So in his strategy, he developed an understanding and a relationship between the civil rights movement, the adverse actions done to Black folk, and the media. Because he believed that if America could truly face America, if you can really see what you look like in the national and international, moral, ethical, and religious context, if you could actually see yourself, you would judge yourself to be wrong. Transform from that acknowledgement. This is starting to happen in some corners. Not fast enough, in my opinion, but there's progress. Individuals who once signed on to these policies are now saying it's too much. All right, dear brother, I know you have a lot to say on this. What are your thoughts?
First, I applaud the ACLU for stepping up yet again and taking action here.
Yeah.
This isn't just a one-off instance. We're seeing a deliberate and targeted pattern. And it's not just in Minneapolis, but I understand why they would want to focus their complaint there. Across the country, we've seen people racially profiled, held despite being citizens for no reason. It's tragic. That story in Minneapolis of the young man walking to lunch, in my opinion, is overshadowed by the woman from, I believe, Maryland, who was held for multiple weeks despite being a citizen. It's all tragic. We're not trying to compare, but just to show it's not just there and it's not brief sometimes. It's heinous. And then on this declining popularity point, I'm encouraged that, of course, it's expected that Democrats would largely and overwhelmingly disapprove of this, but the extent to which independent voters are showing in the polls, and it's not just one pollster, it's across the board, overwhelming disapproval from independents as well. You still have a problem of Republicans just out of blind partisanship trying to justify it or explain it away. You know, if the shoe was on the other foot, they'd be up in arms. And all I would ask is just we have a little bit of ideological consistency in this country. It seems impossible at this point. We are so divided that people on the right are unable to recognize the horrors that are being inflicted on communities across the country because they're fine with it because it's happening in blue states. This isn't happening in Florida. It's not happening in Texas. It's not happening in Alabama or Mississippi or Oklahoma. They're doing it in California, Minneapolis, Oregon, Illinois, and New York. So why would they care? They've already been conditioned by Fox News to hate those states, to hate those blue cities, to think, despite not being there, that they're overrun with crime and gangs and gun violence. No, you look at the crime rates, it's higher per capita in red states. They don't care about that because they are conditioned to believe what Fox and Trump tells them. And this is the result. You have innocent, unarmed people killed. You have citizens being detained, sometimes for weeks. And then the point about rough rides, we saw that kid in Target this week or last week, 17 years old.
Yeah.
He was telling off an ICE agent. That's not polite, but it's legal. And the agent chased him into the store, tackled him. They gave him a rough ride and dropped him off somewhere across town. He's lucky he's alive, because I want to remind, as I'm sure you know, the viewers might have forgotten, that's what killed Freddie Gray in Baltimore.
That's right.
Freddie Gray, who did nothing and was just suspected of being a crime because he was black and in a high crime area. They gave him a rough ride throughout Baltimore, and now he's dead. So that's a potential when they do this. They beat this kid up and drop him off somewhere else across town. So we shouldn't be surprised when these tactics go unchecked by this administration if we see even more deaths.
And once again, the 17-year-old is a juvenile, a child, an American citizen, and deserves all privileges, including justice for what happened to him. All right, we'll bring you updates as updates develop.